All right. So I was cleaning my little room, my little space here. I'm about to do a video for you guys, but I thought, why not do this one first, right? I just finished a couple of gigs for a sideman job that I did. We have a couple more shows coming up. So I always, when we come back, um, I always like to, clean your cables, check your connections, see what is working, what is not working. Gear wise, the things that you're happy about, the things that you might want to try something new, if you have that opportunity. Sometimes I bring extra stuff on the road so I can try it during the sound check when there's a sound check. So I would tell some the naked truth about life on the road. Even if you're not touring, if you're just doing, like some weekend gigs, it can get ugly pretty quick. Um, this band I'm playing right now, we had a few shows already. There's a few more to go, and then I'm out, open to the next opportunity. Um, it can get chaotic on a stage depending on the kind of music you're playing, the kind of audience, the kind of venue. So I just want to show some of the tools and some things that I always carry with me when I'm playing, especially when I'm not playing my own music. And hopefully they will help you guys. So let's start with coffee. Okay, I can't say that enough. I always carry not just one microphone, but two. Of course, the SM57, it's indestructible, but it doesn't matter. These things can get lost or stolen. Sometimes your drummer can, forget a microphone. So if you can bring a spare, always bring one. If not for you, for your bandmates. That applies to speaker cables, power strips, extra picks, guitar strap. You will be surprised how many guitar players or bass players forget their own straps. They hit the road or they go to the club if it's a local gig, and where's my strap? So bring an extra one if you have, especially if you're a sideman. I always have my emergency kit. I always have one extra case with just gear that I won't use, but somebody might need it, and I'm always glad to help. And usually people appreciate it. From an extra tuner, from a power supply, little things that it doesn't cost much. Your stuff can go off at any time, so you have a spare. If you don't need it, somebody else needs, glad to help. It's just my mindset. I'm always there to help. I'm always there to the team, and I'm always there to support what they're doing and try to make them sound the best they can as a team, as a group, as a band. So, microphone and extra microphone. Here's a piece of gear that is amazing. Let me disconnect this. Here we go. This is the Torpedo Captor X. This one is rated at 16 ohms because some of my 412 cabinets, they're hardwired to 16 ohms. I don't know if you guys can see. This one is loaded with, it's a mix of Vitaris and a G1265, the Rolla Celestion, the vintage ones. It's my favorite cab. And I use mostly for recording because I have two different speakers, two different sounds, and I can cover a wider range. This one here is loaded with vintage greenbacks, and I have two more over there that I only use when I'm able to do a wet dry wet rig live, which doesn't happen very often, but it's amazing to play with a dry sound and two 412s in stereo. It's amazing being able to run a dry full stack and two 412s on each side just to run your effects, your ambience, delays, reverbs. If you want some chorus or any kind of modulation, you can do that as well, or you can have on your dry cabinet, doesn't matter. It sounds huge, it's beautiful, and if you have a chance to do that, do it. So the reason for this Captor X, and the reason why I love it so much, it's because it's an attenuator, and I've been blessed with this band that I'm working right now that I don't need to use the attenuation. We have enough freedom on stage to have the amps working in their optimal volume, which can get pretty loud when you're talking about 100-watt heads. It's been years since I wasn't able to do that, so that's the thing that I enjoy the most. Really being able to hear that 100-watt Marshall cranked, and there's nothing better than that. Yeah, there's a PV here as well. I've been using, to be honest, the PV more than the Marshall. So, but the reason with the two notes, the Captor X, you have the attenuation, so it's amazing if you're playing like a smaller club or a venue where you can get that loud, but you still want to use some of the power tube, compression, saturation, but you want to control the volume in the speaker on a stage. So you can use that, but what I like the most is you have a stereo line out here, so I can come from this, hopefully you guys can see, I can come out of these XLRs and feed my reverbs and delays and feed another power amp to go stereo if I want. If I don't have the space to do that, wet, dry, wet, I still can tap my line signal into an interface, and I can record a pure tone of the guitar, and I can have a high quality recording of the performance, so I can listen and judge some of the parts that I need to, what I can do better, what is too much. There's a lot of improvisation in this gig. There's a second guitar in this band, so I'm playing off the solos and some of the lines and some textures, so it's important to me to listen after and keep improving, right? When you have a gig where you are improvising 80% of the time over the songs, it's important to have that after feedback. You need to be critical about what you're doing at all times. Once again, especially if you're getting paid. So I love this device because I can use as an attenuator. It doesn't take a power supply if I'm only using attenuation, which once again I don't for this particular gig. But it also helps me to tap the signal. If I'm not splitting into stereo, I'm tapping this and sending it to a little interface or my little laptop, and I can record the performance, just a clean sound from the performance. So it's a lovely piece of gear. I have two of those. I have one, I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe it's right there. Sorry, it's right here. So that one, my computer went off. So that one is hooked into the ISO box I have here, and the XLR are going into a mixer, so I can insert some of my racks with delays and reverbs like you used to do back in the day. So it's a wet, dry, wet. That's the way I record here at home. Because I don't use plugins, so I need to be able to have my reverbs and my delays being processed or printed in a session. So then later on I can choose if I want them louder or quieter. If I want to replace them, I can just reamp for the effects. That's kind of what I do because it's just quicker for me. It's not better. There are amazing plugins out there. I just don't want to pay for that. I already have my reverbs and delays that I love. I just want to use the sound I like instead of trying to learn something else. Too old for that shit, right? So this is a lovely piece of gear. Now we're talking about the ugly. For this particular gig, I'm using mainly a crunch to a lead tone. There's no clean tones. The singer likes to dance and swing on stage. Sometimes he tripped on his pedals and he almost fell on top of my pedals. And that's kind of terrifying, right? You don't want to perform, especially as a guitarist, you don't want to perform concerned that something will happen, because it will happen. You want to also be able to walk around and perform for the audience. So I decided to shrink everything I had on the floor and go no pedal board. So what I've done for this particular gig, and because I'm using the PV, the 6505 Plus doesn't have a reverb. So reverb is a huge part of my sound. It's a huge part of my tone. Some people don't like it. I love it. If I had to choose between a good reverb and a good delay, I will go with the reverb. Some people would go the other way around. There's no right or wrong. That's what I love. That's what I grew up listening to. So this is what I've done for this gigs. It looks ugly, but it's effective. So this is my favorite rack reverb. It's an Alesis MIDI Verb 2 from the 80s. Very famous for Gary Moore and a lot of amazing guitar players. I think Chris DeGarmo from Queensryche used one. So what I do here is this goes, and I had to glue this weird foam. I don't know if you can see it. So I did this because the handle of the amp, and I wanted this on top of the amp. So my send return goes into the reverb. Sorry, my send goes into this unit here. I can't live without this. It's the radio stage bug. It's a stereo. It just converts balanced to unbalanced. It has a pad, so you can bring down to a line level that is too hot. You can pad like 15 dB. You have a ground lift, which is super important. It's a transformer isolated. So the problem with the PV, every time you connect something to the effects loop, you have some sort of ground hum. And this gets rid of it. You just flick this switch, you lift the ground, no hum anymore. So I have a power supply here. This is a passive unit. I have a power supply for the noise gate because it can get noise at some places. I don't use it all the time, but sometimes I do. And then I have this little delay here, the Echoplex, and I have a tap tempo because it's super easy between songs. Drummers counting, I go here and I just tap tempo if I want to use it. The blessing with the PV6505 is that I have my foot switch and I can turn on and off my effects. So I don't need to turn on and off the delay or the reverb, right? I can choose on the floor. So the only thing I have on the floor for this particular gig is the foot switch for the PV. So I can switch between the crunch channel and the lead channel. I can turn on the effects and off, which is just this on top of the amp. And I have a wah. And I have two wahs. Sometimes I use one, sometimes I use the other. And let me show you. So this is the basic wah I use. It's just a classic Crybaby with the red phaso. Nothing new about it. It's true bypass, red phaso. It works. I realized during sound check sometimes that the wah doesn't cut through some places. because when you're dealing with the, the acoustic in a venue, when the way that the way that the sound it's happening, even temperature, humidity, it changed the sound. So I found that sometimes the wah wouldn't cut through the way it would on a different gig. So I got a different one, and this has been the one that I've been using. You can clearly see that it's being road tested, and it got some issues here. It's the dime wah, and you have adjustments for the Q, you have a volume boost, and you have this range kind of control or whatever it is. You have a, I don't know if that's a boost or a distortion, like an overdrive. But many times when the wah it's not cutting through, what I do usually, instead of switching from crunch to the lead channel, I stay on the crunch channel with this little boost here, and this wah will give me a tighter sound. And because I have so many adjustments here, it just gives me the extra bite that it's much needed. This band, the other guitar player, he plays with a fuzz, kind of a big muff style, so it's like very thick. So being able to slice through that wow of sound, sometimes it can be tricky, and you need to use a lot less bass than you would, sometimes a lot less distortion. And it's not about the volume, right? If you're just trying to play louder to be heard, it becomes a problem. So you still want to have dynamic, but you want to have a tone that you will cut through that wall of fuss, right? Even the bass player has a big muff. Sometimes it's chaos. So this is an amazing piece of gear. I always have two wahs. If one is not working, I just go with the other one. If I have a time for a sound check. If you don't even have that, you only have like a line check, what I would do is I would just roll with this one. That's pretty much it. Oh, and this thing. This is the most important piece of gear that I have when playing live. Thanks to my wife, which is my favorite musician, and she was mad at me because I was like, I'm coming from the rehearsals or the gigs, I'm like, my ears been ringing for like 3 days because it gets loud. So she made me if you know everything I'm talking about, gear and extra cables and all this shit, if there's anything you can take from this video, is buy something like this, right? Earplugs. Something really fun happened the other day, because this one has some little tubes. I don't know if you can see some little tubes where you can choose the amount of attenuation you want, right? So I'm like, okay, let's go with 9 and it wasn't doing it. Let's go with 16, it wasn't doing. So I'm attenuating 30 something or 20 something right now. And what happens is, like, the frequencies, they don't get attenuated in the same way. You start losing high frequencies first, right? And everything gets so I'm wearing this and we're playing, and I'm like, there's something wrong with my overdrive, right? Like it sounds too clean. What's going on, right? So I take one off and, like, no, it sounds good. So because the distortion, the crunch aspect of the distortion happens on a higher frequency, and that gets attenuated like more aggressively with the earplugs. When I was playing, it was sounding super clean, and I realized that helped me to play more like precisely and more fluid, and I was like, it was a great it was a great feeling, right? And then I get to listen to the performance later, and the sound is there, right? It was not I'm playing clean. It's something. It's a lot of sustain, but it's clean. No, the tone was there. It was just, it took me a few minutes to adjust to what I was hearing, as opposed to what was being addressed to the crowd. But that's my most important piece of advice. Sorry, if you get nothing from this video, just protect your ears. You need them, right? Said Beethoven. What else? Extra strings. Can't say that enough. People going on a road and they don't have an extra pack of strings. Get them. Get two of them, right? If you have one gig, get two of them, because if you have another musician in the band and something happens, the other guitar player, he broke a string in the first rehearsal, he broke a string in the second rehearsal, and he broke a string in the third rehearsal and the last one, and I was being able to give him the strings because he didn't have it. Not my problem, but yes, it is. You're part of the team now. Doesn't matter who's right, who's wrong. You're trying to make things run smoothly. Another thing. This guy. I love this. It's a little spray that you can just spray on your strings, and it makes it super smooth. It protects against like sweat, humidity, makes your strings last longer. I think the finger easy. That's kind of okay. Anyway, this is amazing. I have a problem. We're playing a desert. It's outdoors. You have that dust, and I can feel between my fingers like that dust. And it's terrible. It's a terrible feeling to play. You feel like you're like stuck, right? So a little spray on the strings before you play. Wash your hands. I always carry with me some hand cream. It's a life saving thing for me, because I think I have OCD or something. Anyway, my battery's dying. I need to charge it and do the real video. I just hope you guys get something out of this one, and I will see you soon.